DeMar DeRozan is a Sacramento King. This changes everything. The Chicago Bulls have completed a sign and trade in which they are trading DeMar DeRozan to the Sacramento Kings in return for Chris Duarte, 2 second-round picks, and cash. Also, the Spurs managed to walk away with Harrison Barnes. The Kings are a team that's been stuck in a very weird spot in the NBA for a long time. They sucked for a while, missing the playoffs for 16 straight seasons from 2006 to 2023, which is the longest playoff drought in NBA history. They finally got in and lost the Golden State Warriors in round 1. And then last year, they missed the playoffs completely after Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter missed the play-in due to injuries, and then the Kings proceeded to lose to the Pelicans. That is, of course, in the play-in. Most people see the recent Kings teams as a solid team. They'll probably make the playoffs, but outside of that, they'll be lucky to win a single playoff series. The duo of De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis has been elite over the past few seasons, but it's clear that this team needed help. Well, now they've got their help. The Kings are bringing in 6-time All-Star DeMar DeRozan, one of the best scorers of this generation. Since 2009, DeMar DeRozan is 6th in points scored, only trailing LeBron James, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Stephen Curry. That's some pretty elite company. He also is the all-time 2nd highest point per game scorer for the Chicago Bulls, and he's the 2nd highest point per game scorer for the San Antonio Spurs. And you might be wondering, what about the 3rd team he played for, the Raptors? He's 3rd in points per game for the Raptors all time. He's an absolute bucket. This Kings team offensively next year is going to be an absolute problem. Of course, led by De'Aaron Fox, who averaged 26.6 points per game last season. This team is going to be absolutely hard to stop. You have Sabonis as the big man, who averaged 19.4 points per game while also being one of the league's best passing bigs. Sabonis averaged 19.4 points per game, 13.7 rebounds per game, and 8.2 assists per game last season. That's just unreal. Now you're adding DeMar DeRozan into this mix. Guy who averaged 24 points per game last season for the Chicago Bulls. And at the 4 is Keegan Murray, who has some of the most potential in the entire NBA. He's a guy that I'm just waiting on to break out. The Kings use him a lot as like a spot up and just off the ball, but I think if he was allowed to play make and shot create more, he'll elevate his game to another level. I'm just not sure the Kings are going to let him do that when they have such good shot creators and playmakers in De'Aaron Fox, DeMar DeRozan, and Domantas Sabonis. The 2 is Kevin Huerter, who's a solid shooter, but no one's really scared of him outside of that. But still, a starting lineup of De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Huerter, DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, and Domantas Sabonis, that's elite. And now I fully expect the Kings to be a top 5 offense in the NBA next season. The only question that I have is, can the Kings play defense? And to answer that question, I'm not sure. Time will tell, and we're gonna have to see. But this is gonna be one of their only problems next season. To be honest, it's kind of a big problem to have. Although the Kings are stacked offensively, defensively, they're gonna run into a lot of problems. But I think a part of their roster construction that bodes well in their favor in this department is their bench players. Aside from Malik Monk, who will more than likely be in the 6th man of the year consideration, they have their new rookie Devin Carter, who is exceptional on defense. The Kings are a team that lost one of their best defenders in Davion Mitchell in the offseason, but Devin Carter is kind of expected to come in and replace him in that role. They also have Keon Ellis, who played very well defensively last season when he got minutes at the end of the year. And they've also brought in Jalen McDaniels, who isn't terrible at defense. Of course, if you guys are still watching, make sure to press the subscribe button. We're on the road to 3K subs. But now we have to question, how good are the Kings actually? Are they going to be, one of the best teams in the Western Conference? Are they title contenders now? Are they like a locked in playoff team, getting like a 5-6 seed? Like, are they a guarantee for that? Or are they still going to be a play-in team like they were last season? Of course, they beat the Warriors and then lost to the Pelicans to miss the playoffs completely last season. Like I said before, the Kings are a team that's been in a weird spot. I thought they might have just ran it back, but I'm kind of glad as like an NBA fan. Of course, I'm not really a Kings fan, but just as a fan of basketball, that they actually went out and changed it up. Bringing in DeMar DeRozan, that is huge for the franchise. And so how do the Kings stack up? I would put the Thunder above them. The Thunder might be my #1 team in the West. Of course, we're gonna have all the predictions and I'm going to predict the whole season. I'm going to pick a winner for every single game this season when the schedule drops. So stay tuned for that video. The Nuggets are a team that they're probably better than them, but I also weirdly got a gut feeling today that the Nuggets might have a down year, but we'll see. The Thunder, the Nuggets, the Timberwolves are better than them. So that's 3 teams. I'm not going to say the Clippers are better than them. I think the Clippers will likely be, a play-in team, or maybe they'll miss the playoffs. We'll kind of have to see how their health is, because if they like lose, Kawhi for like 30 games or harder, what I'm saying? That's big. They might miss it all completely. So we'll go Thunder, Nuggets, Timberwolves. You could put the Mavs above them after their finals run, but that might be it. The Kings might be a top 5 team in the West right now. I know a lot of people are also high on the Grizzlies, so maybe you have the Grizzlies above them, but the Kings should have a top 6 spot in this next playoff. I mean, barring an injury, I expect this Kings team to be really good, and they're just going to put up points. Like, can we see it's not on the screen for you guys, but last season they averaged 116.6 points per game. I mean, that number is going to be close to 120, if not 120. This is going to be a team that's going to be very tough to stop, in my opinion. But again, defensively, that's the question mark. And as we know, defense matters. So I'm not going to be the one to say the Kings are now title contenders, because I don't think they are. But, you know, they might be another one and done in the playoffs. With the addition of DeMar, maybe they win a series. I mean, maybe this team turns out to just click, you know, and just be perfect, and they are title contenders. We got to see how they actually play when the season comes around. But on paper, just my gut on this, my gut feeling is going to be, you know, the Kings are going to be a team that either loses in the first round or loses in the second round. I don't see them going to the conference finals or anything like that, but I think they're going to be a very fun team to watch. Probably one of the most fun teams to watch in the NBA, just because of how offensive heavy they're going to be and just going to be putting up points. At least that's my take on it. And as we know, when it comes to championships and it comes to, you know, winning the NBA finals, going on deep playoff runs, defense matters. So again, that's a big question mark I have with this team, and it's not really a question mark. I don't expect them to be that good at defense. They're probably going to be bottom half in the league, but offensively I expect them to be top 5. So they should be a decently, you know, top team in the league. But I think in the playoffs, when you're going up against a team like the Thunder, who has an insane defense, you're going up a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have an insane defense, that's where we're going to run into problems. Like, really good defense can create offense. You know, you get out on the break, it helps, right? It's a big factor in basketball, and the Kings aren't going to have that as much as some of the other teams. And I mean, they might just struggle stopping some of the other high-powered offenses like the Thunder. I think the Thunder might be top 2, top 3 in both offense and defense. So it would be crazy to say after this trade that the Kings are now like the best team in the Western Conference, because they're just not.